Welcome to our deep dive on unlocking hidden citizenship through a U.S. citizen parent. Today, we'll explore how many adults born abroad may already be U.S. citizens without realizing it, how to confirm it, and what to do if you've been living in the U.S. on a visa. To begin, we'll set the stage with what the law means by acquisition of citizenship and why your parents' physical presence in the U.S. matters. Then, we'll move into your two main routes to formal recognition, common pitfalls like the Unrecognized Citizen Paradox, and step-by-step guidance to resolve your status. Finally, we'll wrap up with key takeaways, a brief disclaimer, and your next steps. Let's get started. Here's our roadmap. First, we'll define acquisition of citizenship and why a parent's prior physical presence in the U.S. can make you a citizen at birth. Next, we'll compare the two primary routes to formal recognition, a U.S. passport application versus a Certificate of Citizenship through USCIS. Then, we'll examine the Unrecognized Citizen Paradox, which happens when citizens unknowingly hold visas. After that, we'll walk through documentary requirements and a practical, step-by-step process. Finally, we'll summarize key points and outline your next steps. Now, let's clarify who may qualify. If you were born outside the United States, and one of your parents was a U.S. citizen when you were born, you may have acquired citizenship at birth. Your current age does not prevent this. Adults can confirm their status today. The critical factor is the U.S. citizen parent's prior physical presence in the United States before your birth. Although exact legal standards vary by time period, a common modern framework requires 5 years of physical presence, including at least 2 years after the parent turned 14. If your U.S. citizen parent lived in the U.S. for many years, that requirement is often met. With that foundation, let's differentiate a few core concepts. Let's clarify core legal concepts. First, acquisition of citizenship by birth through a U.S. citizen parent is different from derivation of citizenship after birth. We focus on acquisition here. Second, physical presence is measured by actual days in the United States, while residence is a broader concept. Eligibility commonly depends on physical presence. Third, the requirements have changed over time, and the applicable rule typically depends on your date of birth and sometimes parental marital status, so you must confirm which historical standard applies. Fourth, evidence drives outcomes. You will need documentation proving your parents' citizenship and their periods of U.S. physical presence before your birth. Finally, adults can confirm this status now. Age does not bar recognition of citizenship that existed since birth. With these basics in place, let's visualize the decision path. This decision map starts by asking whether you were born abroad to at least one U.S. citizen parent at the time of your birth. If the answer is no, then you did not acquire citizenship at birth via this route. If yes, the next question is whether the citizen parent accumulated sufficient U.S. physical presence before your birth. If not, then you were not a U.S. citizen at birth. If yes, you were likely a U.S. citizen at birth. In that case, you can confirm your status by applying for a U.S. passport using Form DS-11, or by applying for a Certificate of Citizenship using Form N-600. Next, we will discuss the documentation you need to support either path. Gather documents methodically. First, obtain your foreign birth certificate and an official translation if it is not in English. Second, prove your parents' U.S. citizenship with a U.S. passport, a U.S. birth certificate, or a naturalization certificate. Third, document the parents' U.S. physical presence before your birth using items like school records, tax returns, W-2s, employment verifications, leases, utility bills, military records, or other dated evidence that places them in the United States. Fourth, establish the parent-child relationship and the parents' marital status at the time of your birth, including any legitimation or adjudication records, if those are relevant for your time period. Fifth, include evidence of any name changes such as marriage certificates or court orders. Sixth, bring your own government-issued photo identification. Finally, prepare form-specific items, correct photos, fees, and any appointment confirmations. With your evidence in order, let's review the two routes to formal recognition. Route 1 is the U.S. passport application using Form DS-11. This is often the quickest and most practical method to obtain formal recognition because a passport is widely accepted as definitive proof of citizenship. It is sufficient not only for travel, but also for many everyday verification needs. Next, we will list the steps to apply for a passport as an adult applicant confirming citizenship acquired at birth. To apply for a passport, first complete Form DS-11, but do not sign it until you are instructed to do so at the acceptance facility. Next, schedule an appointment with an approved acceptance facility, such as a post office or county clerk. Then, assemble originals and copies of your evidence, your personal identification, your foreign birth certificate, your parents' proof of citizenship, and documents establishing your parents' physical presence in the United States. Add properly formatted passport photos and the required fees. And consider expedited processing if you need faster results. At your appointment, you will take an oath and submit your documents in person. Finally, monitor the application status. Once approved, the passport itself serves as proof of your U.S. citizenship.
Now, let's turn to the Certificate of Citizenship route.
Route 2 is the Certificate of Citizenship, obtained by filing Form N-600 with USCIS. This route generally takes longer than a passport application, but results in a highly durable and formal document. Many applicants prefer the Certificate of Citizenship for legal certainty, estate planning, or institutional record-keeping. Next, we will outline the steps involved in filing the N-600. To pursue the N-600, create a USCIS online account and begin the application. Upload clear scans of your birth certificate, your parents' proof of citizenship, and the records showing your parents' U.S. physical presence prior to your birth. Pay the filing fee or seek a fee waiver if you qualify.
If USCIS issues a request for evidence, respond fully and on time. Some applicants may be scheduled for biometrics. After adjudication, and approval results in a certificate of citizenship. With the two routes understood, let's address a common and confusing situation known as the Unrecognized Citizen Paradox. Here is the paradox. U.S. citizens cannot hold U.S. non-immigrant visas. If you entered the United States on a visa and later realized that you were a citizen at birth, your visa classification is not valid because citizens are not non-immigrants. This mismatch can happen if parental citizenship and physical presence details were not analyzed during the visa process. Once you discover facts indicating you are a citizen, you should move quickly to resolve the conflict and secure proper proof of your citizenship. Next, we will discuss how to resolve this conflict step by step. To resolve the conflict, immediately stop relying on visa benefits and instead focus on obtaining proof of citizenships. Assemble your evidence and apply for either a U.S. passport or a certificate of citizenship. If you are employed under a visa classification, plan for I-9 re-verification using your approved passport or certificate of citizenship once it is issued. If travel is time-sensitive, consider an in-person passport agency appointment or expedited processing. Finally, consult a qualified immigration attorney to tailor the strategy to your facts, particularly if you anticipate complications. Now let's test your understanding with a quick quiz. Question: which route usually provides the fastest formal proof that you are a U.S. citizen acquired at birth through a parent? Option A, Form N-600, Certificate of Citizenship. Option B, Form DS-11, U.S. Passport. Option C, apply for any U.S. non-immigrant visa. Option D, wait for your employer to verify your status. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is the DS-11 U.S. passport application. It is usually faster than the N-600 process and serves as definitive proof of citizenship. Here is a compact checklist of key documents. Your foreign birth certificate, with certified translation if needed, proves your birth details. Your parents' U.S. passport, U.S. birth certificate, or naturalization certificate proves the parent's citizenship. Documentation of the parent's U.S. physical presence prior to your birth satisfies the time in U.S. requirement. Examples include tax returns, W-2s, school and employment records, leases, and military records. Provide your own government-issued identification. Finally, include form-specific items, such as DS-11 with photos and fees, or the N-600 with online uploads and the filing fee. Next, we'll compare the two routes side by side. On the left is the passport route using DS-11, which is typically faster and useful for travel and day-to-day proof.
It is issued by the U.S. Department of State. This route is best when you need quick recognition and mobility. On the right is the Certificate of Citizenship obtained through the N-600 with USCIS. It tends to be slower but provides a durable legal record, often preferred for estate planning and long-term archival purposes. Both confirm the same underlying citizenship, so the choice depends on your priorities for speed versus document formality.
Next, let's add a visual timeline of the process.
This timeline illustrates the journey from discovering potential citizenship to obtaining formal proof. At week 0, you identify the possibility. Over the next 1 to 2 weeks, you gather your evidence. Around week 2, you choose your route, either DS-11 for a passport or N-600 for a certificate, and then file shortly thereafter. Some applicants may receive a request for additional evidence. Approvals vary. Passports often arrive within several weeks, while N-600 processing can take several months. Immediately after approval, update employment I-9 and any other records that relied on your prior visa classification. Now, for a second visual, here is a mind map of evidence sources. This mind map organizes the typical evidence set. First is your own birth evidence, including a foreign birth certificate and any required translation. Second is the parent's citizenship proof, such as a U.S. passport, a U.S. birth certificate, or a naturalization certificate. Third is the parent's physical presence, documented with items like tax returns, W-2s, school and employment records, leases and utilities, and military records. Fourth is the relationship and parental status at the time of birth, including marriage, divorce, or legitimation records, as applicable. Finally, include form items like photos, fees, and either DS-11 or N-600. Mapping these categories helps identify and fill gaps before filing. Next, let's highlight key takeaways. The main points are straightforward. First, you may already be a U.S. citizen if at least one parent was a citizen when you were born and the physical presence rules are met. Second, evidence of the parent's time in the United States is the decisive factor, so collect it thoroughly. Third, the passport route is usually faster, whereas the N-600 provides a formal certificate. Fourth, if you discover citizenship while holding a visa, address the mismatch promptly. Finally, consult an experienced immigration attorney to confirm eligibility under the correct historical rule and to strategize your filings. Now, let's summarize and add an important disclaimer. To summarize, many adults born abroad can confirm citizenship acquired at birth through a U.S. citizen parent. The key requirement is the parent's prior U.S. physical presence under the rule applicable to your date of birth. Choose a passport for speed or a certificate of citizenship for a more formal, durable record. If you have been using a visa classification, resolve the visa citizenship conflict promptly once you identify your status. Ultimately, the quality and completeness of your documentation drive outcomes.
Before we close, here is a brief disclaimer. This content is for educational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Citizenship eligibility rules vary by time period and personal circumstances. You should consult a qualified immigration attorney who specializes in acquisition of citizenship to evaluate your specific facts and to identify the correct historical legal standard for your birth date. With that in mind, let's close with a quick call to action. Thank you for watching. If this helped, please like the video, share it with someone who might be an unrecognized citizen, and subscribe for more step-by-step guides. In the comments, tell us your biggest question about proving citizenship through a U.S. citizen parent. See you next time.